Okay, so let me share my screen to begin, and I'll take you through what I have for you today. If you have questions, please start gathering them. I will answer them towards the end of this presentation, and you can just share them in the comments. So yes. All right. I hope you all can see my screen. Can you just let me know in the comments if you can see my screen? Awesome, superb. Okay. Today I'll be showing you how to create 3 types of charts, and I hope I can cover them in less than 10 minutes a piece, right? The first is going to be a visual on showing the percentage of total, right? In this case, it looks like this. You have a fixed amount, like you can think of it as a drum or a container, and you're trying to calculate what percentage is left or what percentage is used up, whatever it is in your case, right? Percentage of total. And you can create a cool visual. You can essentially create a custom visual to represent what exactly you're trying to pass along, right? The second one is to highlight the largest value within a population, right? Within a sample population, perhaps. For instance, here in this chart, I'm trying to show the top sales agent. I'm trying to highlight them, right? Of course, you can order your visual from ascending to descending, right? If you want to show that, but I think this is really cool. You want to bring out your data, right? Bring it to life. You can see it always highlights the highest value within that population, and it tops it up with a star. So there are 2 levels of highlights in here: the color difference, right, and also the star that's being shown at the top. And the final one is a multi-layer line chart, right? So this is a line chart that was built in Excel. It looks like so. There are 3 layers of data here, and you can always play around it. I think you can really, if you're giving the presentation in PowerPoint, copy this, paste it, you can really bring your data to life in this manner. Okay, so that said, let's begin with the first one. The first one is how to show the percentage of total. And I have a small data set here. I will copy the data sets. Actually, I'm going to create a new chart. Not a new chart, I'll create a new worksheet, because if I create a new workbook, I will have to reshare this screen. So let's do this. Number 1, I'll copy the data set, right? Like so. I'll paste it here. So this data set is very simple. You have month, you have the energy used as a proportion of the total energy available. I'm choosing to use an energy data set. You can do whatever you want with yours. I'll turn this into a table, right? Like so. Control T or Control L. I think both do the same thing. And I will calculate the percentage that is used up. So I'll just call this percentage used or so. And it's a simple calculation, column B divided by column C, right? I think there's a shortcut to turn this into a percentage, but I will just do this manually. Okay, so now you're wondering, right, like how does this work now, right? First thing is you need some assets, right? By that I mean you need what you're going to use, right, to create this chart. to create this visual. I've already created my assets, and there are two layers, right? In the sense of you have one layer, which is meant to be the total, right? The empty container. And then you have this other layer, which is meant to be what slides up and down, right? Giving you the sense of, completion, or a sense of something being used up. And you can create these in PowerPoint, right? You can really create this in PowerPoint. For the lack of time, I'm not going to show you how to do this, but you can really create, like, this is all what it's made up of. You have one visual that looks like this, you can create this in PowerPoint simply with create a rectangle, create another rectangle, turn the edges to rounded edges, group both of them together, right click, save it as a PNG, create another rectangle, right? Turn the edges to rounded, save it as well as a PNG. And I believe it's possible to also do this here in Excel, right? So like so, you have a rectangle here. You create a rectangle like this, and you can add a gradient. Right, it's very simple. No, fill, add a gradient fill. Play around with it. Not entirely sure how to change the edges of this at the moment, but you get the gist, right? This is a very simple shape that you can create. So I'm gonna move on. So I have these two assets. Cool. Let's go back to the chart. The chart is essentially what is it? It's a bar chart, right? So I can highlight this data like so over here. I can highlight this data like so. And before I do that, actually, I'm going to create a pivot table, right? Just because I want this option of filtering, right? I want this option of filtering each month, right? So that I get the information for each month. I think I'm talking too much, so let me just go straight to the point. I create a pivot table. I click on, like, within the table, I click insert, I click pivot table. I want it to remain within this sheet right here. So I click OK. Right, I need a destination. So right below, and I'll click OK. Now the pivot table literally has to be something like, I want to show the energy used, the energy available, and the percentage left, right, for a given month. So I can drop my energy used. I'll put all of them in values. All right, I'll put energy available, and do I need, yeah, I need the percentage as well, and the percentage used. And I'll change all of them to average, right? Go to value field settings, change to average. I wonder if there's a quicker way to just change the three measures to average. All right, I'll change all the measures to average. That's cool. Change this to percentage over here. Then I will insert a slicer to filter the month. So I click on pivot table, analyze, insert slicer, click on month, then click OK, like so. All right. And if I click January, you can see the data for January is exactly the data that is in this record, the second row here. If I click February, same thing, right? So now we're getting somewhere, right? Now, it is from this pivot table that you then create the pivot chart. So I go into Power Pivot Analyze, and I click on Pivot Chart. Click on Pivot Chart. I will create a clustered column. Right, I'll create a clustered column chart. I think, yeah. So I click OK. I click OK. I remove all these other values I don't want. That is all this very distracting elements. Field buttons, remove this, remove that, remove that, that as well. And I click on this chart, this legend over here, I remove it as well. And I think you're starting to see, like, you can begin imagining how this chart was created, right? And essentially, it's that blue bar that is overlaid, right, on the orange bar, right? So if you change that, you can see the blue bar is changing, but the orange bar remains the same. So how do you then do that? I will click on this orange bar, right? I'm going to go to my assets, click on the full bar. I'll click copy, Ctrl C, right? Then go back to my chart, click on it, right? And then Ctrl V, paste it like so. Very simple, right? Then I need to do something with my chart, right? So I need to overlap the blue one, right, on top of the battery. So what I'm gonna do is to go to the aspect of formatting the bar charts. And I'll click on this formatting bar chart, then I'll click on this over here. Nope. I always mess these up. Yes, so I click on the series options, exactly. Click on the series options. What you're looking for is to overlap, right? This series overlap. So you want to, see, if I move it, it's overlapped. If I move it, it's overlapping. It's overlapping, but then you can see the order in which it's been arranged is that the battery comes first, right? So it's going behind it. To fix that, I'm going to go back to my pivot table, and I will simply change the order in which these appear. So I'll move the first one to the bottom of the second one, and we have this in front of it. That said, I'll go back to my series options, right, and go all the way to 100% overlap. Very cool, right? 100% overlap. So now, if you click this, you can see you already have a semblance of the final visual, right? Very simple. And I really don't want it to look like this. So I'll click on the orange one, right? I'll go back to my assets, which I designed in PowerPoint. I'll Ctrl C on it, right? Go back to the chart, click on the orange one, and paste, Ctrl V. And voila. Change this to, actually this is the axis, so I can delete that, and I can add my axis titles at the bottom, primary horizontal, right? Drag it a little bit down, change the name to percentage of total energy used up. Very simple. And if you want to remove these lines, the grid lines, click on them, delete, and you have a nice one. And then you're wondering, how do you add, what's the last one? This percentage, right? It's best to add the percentage, right? Because it's always moving, right? So you want to add it as a data label to this particular, energy used up, energy used column series. So you click plus over here, you go into data label, right? You go into data label, and then you click on more options. When you get to more options, label options wasn't highlighted by default. Click on label options, and you can see it's giving me the actual amount. I don't want the actual amount. I want the value from sales. So I'll click on value from sale. It's going to ask me to select my range. I'll click on this 51% over here. Click OK. Then check it to make it appear, and I can remove the value, right, like so. And when I go back to this chart options, data labels, I can actually make it center, all right, instead of outside the end. And that's how you do it. Voila. Make it bigger, change the fonts. Really like the Arial Nova. I think that's what I use for this one. Make it bold, change it to white. And that's how you get that chart. Very simple. Like so. I do not know what happened. Okay. Unless there was an issue just now. That's weird. In that it did not capture the change. Okay, let's see. Okay, cool. So I had to do it again, but there you go. That's it. That's how you create that chart. Okay. So that's chart number 1, percent of total. The next one, I will go to, what's the next one? Highlight largest value in a data set. Highlight largest value in a data set. Okay, so how do we do this? I have a data set over here. You know, also I have like on a monthly basis, I have for each agent, the total sales the agents made, right? It's the same set of agents. And it's the same set of agents and, you know, their sales for each month, right? So I'm going to copy these data. All right, Ctrl C. I'll create a new tab. I'll call this number 2, like so, and I'll paste that here. Really cool, right? So I need to create a pivot table first, right? Like this, create a pivot table here that gives me the sum of sales and, you know, for each agent. And then you need to create some things, right, that will make it work, some hacks in a way. Okay, so first thing, I'll go to insert, create a pivot table. I will put it on these existing sheets. Where do I want to put it? I'll put it here, like so. In my pivot table, I only want the sales agent in the rows and the sales amount in the values. Sum of sales, very cool. And in the, I also need to add a filter again as a slicer, using a slicer. So I go to pivot table analyze, click on insert slicer, click on month, because that's how I want to filter this data, right? So month comes out here like so, right? So when I click on January, I can see January over here, January sales and January sales agents. If you notice very well, 2 guys have the same sales in January, Fatai and Madison, right? Similar to what you have here, Madison and Fatai for January, right? So this works. Now, what's the hack? The hack is like so, you know, you just create another table by the side. The first will be the sales agent. All right, so you just reference the pivot table, right? Like so, you reference the pivot table. And I'll just drag that down. And then you want to reference the sales, right? So the sales amount. So I'll click on this and I'll click enter. Now, this can be very tricky because when you drag it down, you see that it doesn't change. And you're like, what's going on? So I press Ctrl Z. You have to look inside the data, the function. The function is get pivot data. The table is it called sales? Table design, sales 6. Okay. The table is called sales 6, but that's not what's important. You have the sales column, and then it starts from E2, right? From over here. Then you have the sales agent, which are referring to, and you have the name of the sales agent. And Angela is fixed. So I'm just going to make a small edit to that because I don't really want Angela to be fixed into that function. Rather, I want it to be a relative value. So this value over here is what I want. And if I drag that down, voila, right? It's relative. It will move as I move to the next value, right? The next value at the bottom. So if I change this, you can see I'm essentially creating a replica of this table. And I can do more with that. Okay, so that said, because this is going to be a stacked bar chart, right? I need to do something called a topping, right? So if you look at this chart, there's actually something on top of it. So I need to do something called a topping. I'll call this sales topping, right? Sales topping, I'll just do this, whatever this value is, and divide it by 4, right? So I want the star to be roughly quarter of the height of the bar chart, right? And I will do the same all through. If you're wondering what I used there, I press Ctrl D to just run the formula all the way down. Okay, now we need to highlight the max. So how do we find out the maximum value in this small population? What's the maximum value in that small population? You can write a simple function here, right? To say if, hey, can I remember this like this? I think I can, right? So if you want to say the max of this population, right? This data set, you want to lock that into position, right? You want to make it fixed. You don't want those values to change relative. You want it to remain absolute. So what do? You click on F4. You might have to click function F4, but the point is you add $this, $that, $this, $that for each number and value, and letter and number. So if the max of that range, right, equals to this value, what should you return? Return this value. Else, return nothing, right? Just blank. So if the max of that value, of that stuff, of that range equals to that first value, return nothing. When you go to the next line, if the max of that range equals to that value, return that value. Right? So this will return nothing, right? Because that's not the max. And if you go down, sweet, it returns 47 because the max of that range is 47. Same here. If I change this value over here, see, it gives me the max every time in that range. Okay, now, final thing is to add the max stopping. And same thing, I'll just do this divided by 4, but it's going to be an error. So I'm going to wrap this in an error handler, and I'll say if error, if there's an error, give me blank. Otherwise, return the actual value. Press OK and run it down, and you're good. So these are the values that you need here, right? Like so, like so, like so, like so. Okay. So how do we do this? I can highlight everything, and I can go to insert chart, and I can go to chart. I really want a, let me just go to all charts. I want a stacked. I'm going to go for a combo chart, actually. I'm going to go for a combo chart that has multiple stacked bar charts, but this is not working now. So what I'm gonna do is I will start with two of them, right? Like this. And I'll click on insert, and then I'll click on, let me just go to recommended and click on all charts. I'm going to go to start chart. So what we want is something like this to start with, right? Okay. All right. So that's our first data set. Then you need to add more charts. You need to add more charts, right? So what do? I will go to chart design. Then I'll go to select data. And I'll click on add. Maybe at the bottom, series name is max. Series values is essentially this, like so. And I'll click OK. And of course, you need to edit the horizontal values, right? Because these other ones, the horizontal values are these names. So in your max, you edit the horizontal values and you choose these guys. Click OK. Right? Okay, cool. And at the moment, you're already seeing that it looks like the one is sitting on top of the other. What you need to do in that case is just to change the chart type. So change chart type. Now you can click on combo, right? Before it was difficult to get to that combo, but now you can click on combo, and in your combo, in your max, you simply change it to secondary axis, and you also make it a clustered column chart. What was this other guys? Clustered column? Yeah, stacked column. It should be a clustered column, right? Okay, I think I know what's going on. It's because I haven't added the final chart, which is this max topping. So the last thing is just to select data again, go to add, series name is max topping, series values is all of these 4 lines, click OK, change the horizontal to the names over here, click OK, and there you go, right? So we have a number of things. I'll click on this, go to chart design, and I will change chart type. And now, yeah, you can see clustered column is showing up, which is really cool. Okay. A number of things have to be addressed here. So this max topping, it's clear. Okay. It should actually be stacked, right? Just bear me a second. Let me have a look at these guys over here. Chart design, change chart type. Yeah, it should be stacked, right? So I'm gonna go back and change these to stacked. Excuse me, chart design, change chart type, stacked, like so. Change the second one to stacked as well, the third to stacked, and yeah, now they're all stacked. So sales and sales stopping, stacked column, primary axis, max and max stopping, stacked, secondary axis. And the visual is already done, but then you're like, okay, how is it done? So let me show you what's going on here. Actually, let me go to a different month. Maybe that would be better. So I'll highlight a few things. This sales stopping over here is only a placeholder. I will change the color to invisible, right? Transparent. We don't need that. So I'll click on this chart. I will go to format. I will select the sales topping, right? That allows you to select the particular series. Select the sales topping, and in my colors over here, I will just go to no fill. All right, so it's it becomes transparent. Cool. Then I will go to my format again, select my sales, right? The original sales, right? Which is this one over here, and change the color to a light blue, right? Which is like something like this. Change it to a light blue. Then my max, I'll select my max. Where is it? Go to format, go to this, select max. I will change the color of the max to a dark blue line. Solid fill, change to a dark blue line, which indicates that's actually the max amount, right? And the final thing, as you might have guessed, right, is to change the image of the max stopping, right, to something else. So I'll go to formats, go to max stopping. See, I've selected that now. What image do I want to change it to? You guys already know how to change an image, don't you? All right, so I want a star. It can be anything, right? You can bring this in like a PNG, right? In this case, I went to insert, I went to icons, right? And where is it? I searched for, I don't know, maybe a light bulb. You can search for anything, right? So here's a light bulb. Let me use a light bulb. Let me use this guy over here. I click on insert. All right, so I have a light bulb. I'm going to change the color of the light bulb to yellow, like so. All right, then I'll copy the light bulb, come back to my second chart, click my max stopping, and Ctrl V. And I've changed it like that, like so. And yeah, so for the lack of time, I am not going to go into like editing and all that stuff, but you can see OMG, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z. So I think I know what happened. Yeah, I know what happened in this case. And I think it's because I didn't select the entire series. So what I'm gonna do is, go back to assets, I'll copy this, go back to my second line. In this chart, I will select the entire max stopping, the series. You can see both are selected. Then I'll press Ctrl V. Oh, okay. I need to copy this again. It happens sometimes. Ctrl V. Let's see. Okay, that works. That works. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes it just happens that way, right? So you can see in all instances, the highest value first is being highlighted with this color change, and also the bulb. If I go to March, you can see this is higher sales from Shola, here from Angela, here from Fatai. Okay, so that's that. That's the second chart. The last chart is, and we have about 5 minutes with this one. So the last chart is, excuse me. The last chart is on sort of a multi-layer line chart, right? Evolution of sales, and in this case, like significant events. Let me take you through data sets, right? Very simply. You have dates, right? And then on each date, I'm calculating the cumulative sales, right? So it's like, how many sales have we made up until this date? How many sales? So we're imagining that we began selling on the 28th of August, right? And we're adding sales cumulatively to say, okay, on the 23rd of September, how many sales have we made up until that point, right? That's fine, that's sales. Then on top of those cumulative sales, I want to highlight some significant events, right? The first being something like, out of these sales, were there sales that were made by a specific sector of sales agents, or in this case, promoters? Did promoters make any sale on this date? Also, were there any other events that happened on that particular day? For instance, a new payment plan was introduced, or it rained on that day, or or it's like whatever event you want to highlight in this case that you want to show with regards to sales. Okay, so this is how this data set is formatted. You have dates, you have cumulative sales, right? You have the sales that the promoters made, doesn't matter, but what matters is you want to highlight the event, right? Whether the promoter made sales or not, right? So on these days, the promoters didn't make any sales. There was one sale that promoter made here, one sale here, 3 sales, 2 sales. So what I just did here is, if this is not equal to 0, give me the cumulative sales. That's what this is showing, right? So let me show you how that looks. So you can write a formula here to just show if, this is greater than 0 or something, right? Then give me the cumulative sales, else just blank, like so, right? And if you drag that down, whenever there's a promoter sale, to give me the cumulative sales, right? Whenever there's that, to give me the cumulative sales, right? So Ctrl Z, and I'm actually going to remove that final value, right? So once I do that, I just remove any other formula. I just copy and paste only the values, right, for this particular one. And another event that I wanted to highlight here is new payment plans introduced, right? So whenever there's a new payment plan, just add the actual sales amount, the cumulative sales. So this is how this data set is structured. Cumulative sales, events that you want to highlight, promoter sale, new payment plan introduced, and you can see it's the same value as the cumulative sale. In each case, the same value. So that's pretty much it. I can copy this table, create a new one, 3, paste. We are running out of time. Copy and paste this, in 3, like so. And you guys already know this, right? All you want to do is to create a line chart to start with, right? It's a very simple hack. I'll highlight this, and I'll also highlight the cumulative sales that I want to start with, right? These two. I'll insert a line chart. Of course, it's gonna actually recommend a line chart for me. So yeah, I'll insert a line chart, like so. We start with that, right? And I want to highlight the promoter sales, right, which is this one. So what do? You guys know this, right? You go to chart design, select data, add a new series. Right, the series name is promoter sales. The series values, I want this as series values. I'll highlight the entire Apologies for that. I lost my network, but we're actually done. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. If you can, please send me a awesome. Okay. So since you guys can see my screen, yeah, like the chart is pretty much done, right? You simply need to go select the chart, go into your format, excuse me. I am actually having an issue with selecting a format. Okay, go into your format and select the first one, which is cumulative sales. Change the color, right? You can see, change the color over here, but what's important is like you make it really wide. It's like 15 or so, look at that. And now it's starting to come to life. So I can change the color to gray, like so. That's the first series. The second series, I want to highlight the promoter sales. I click on promoter sale, right, which is this yellow lines over here. I actually don't want a line. I want a marker. So I click on marker. I choose the marker. I choose a built-in one. I choose a circle or an X or whatever, right? Like so. I can change the marker size, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. And you do the same for the last chart, which is chart design, select data, add a new series. Series is new payment plans. Change the series values, highlight these payment plans over here, click OK. Change the x-axis to the dates over here and click OK. And yeah, you can see it showing up here as a line as well. You click on format, select the new series, new payment plans introduced. You don't want it as a line, you change it to a marker, you change the marker options to maybe an X in this case, or a star, change it to an X. Yeah, and you might remove the border, add a feel to the color. Maybe you want it to be a blue one, like so. Look at that. So this is how I created these charts. And we ran 5 minutes over. So now I hope you found the session very insightful. And in the next 2-3 minutes, if you have a question, please type it in the chart. And I will answer before we round up. The function for the sales stopping, it's just just divided it by 4, right? It's like I'm trying to say I want the space that this star or this bubble occupy to just be a quarter of the height of the highest bar. Yeah, that's pretty much it.